so don't stop. And under the lights when everything goes, nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move while you already.
I won't live to see the future that I fight for. Maybe no one gets to reach that perfect day. If the work is never over, then how do you keep marching anyway? Do you carry your banner as far as you can, rewriting the world with your imperfect pen, till the next stubborn bro picks it up in a picket line over and over again, and you join in the chorus of centuries chanting to her. The path will be twisted and risky and slow, but keep marching, keep marching. Will you fail or prevail? Well, you may never know, but keep marching, 'cause your ancestors are all the proof you need that progress is possible, not guaranteed. It will only be made if we keep marching on. Keep marching on. Keep marching on. Keep marching on. Yes, the world can be changed 'cause we've done it before, so keep marching, keep marching. We're always behind you, so bang down the door and keep marching, and let history sound the alarm about the future demands that we fight for it now. It will only be ours if we keep marching on. We must keep marching, marching, marching. 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 Come on, keep marching, marching, marching. Keep marching on. We must march. Union power.
Good morning, everyone. Oh my God, if this was a classroom, let's start it again. Good morning, everyone. I see the CTU shirts. You notice the CTU member who is marching first. So we have a very exciting day today and a very exciting day tomorrow. I am going to just give one. We're going to call David up to do the credentials report. I am going to ask Shawn Fain to speak right after that. I am going to, he's here. I just told him that people are as excited to hear from him as they are to hear from Kamala tomorrow. So, but I am then going to do two things. This morning, I'm going to give some instructions about guest passes, because that is going to close by 1 o'clock for tomorrow. And in the beginning of the afternoon session, not the end of the afternoon session, but at the beginning of the afternoon session, I will do instructions about Thursday. Okay? So I don't want to do it now. I'll do it at the beginning of that session. I'll also do it at the end of that session. And we'll also have it on the screen. But I want to just get the credentials report done, and Shawn has a hard stop, so I want to get him on stage, and then we'll do the other business. David.
Good morning. This is the 2024 AFT Convention Credentials Report as of July 23rd, 2024 at 5 p.m. Total number of delegates, 2,054. representing a total election votes of 749,428, total locals 371, total state federations 27, total council of locals 0, total ex officio 2, total alternates 17. Madam Chair, I submit for adoption the third preliminary credentials report, and I so move. I have a second. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It passes.
Thank you, David.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
We are trying to get the rights to the song so that we can share the video that you just saw, which is on Keep Marching, but with our marching. Do people like the video, by the way? So we're trying to see if we can get the rights so that we can share it with all of you. So I just said, I just kind of introduced Shawn, but let me just say, our next speaker, every convention that I have run, I've been honored to preside at. I've tried to make sure we have a leader from our movement who really represents our movement. And I can think of no better than Shawn Fain. Shawn has been a worker and a leader in the UAW for decades. He has been focused on worker power, workplace democracy, and you saw it front and center because literally 2 nanoseconds after he became president of the UAW, he had to face the big three. And what he did and what the UAW did was in some ways as inspiring, if not more inspiring, than the sit-down strikes led by Walter Reuther years and years and years ago. What they did was they led the largest strikes in decades, taking on the billionaire class and reversing decades of stagnant wages and benefits within the auto industry. It was the first time in UAW's 88-year history that the union launched a simultaneous strike against the big three automakers. And they did it in a way, as you saw, a rolling strike. They didn't strike everybody at the same time, at the same moment. They rolled into it. And I was really honored to be on the line in Toledo with them fighting the Stellantis company. Yes, I see our Toledo people here. So the contracts that they negotiated were significant. 25% over 4.5 years, an end to temporary status for thousands of workers, the reopening of the Belvedere assembly plant, and equally, if not more important, the work to try and reorganize the auto industry, starting with Volkswagen in the South. I do love that. Remember, a few days before the Chattanooga Volkswagen win, how many of those southern state governors who really, like Donald Trump, fight against union power and worker power, tried to create and scare the bejesus out of people. And, I think that's a word, right? And UAW won. So, we actually know Shawn and the people that Shawn ran with for a long time because our Ohio Federation colleagues, we worked really hard. Where is Ohio? Where is Lordstown? We worked very hard to try to get the Chevy Cruze plant back up in Lordstown. And frankly, the former leadership, not Ray Curry, but the leadership before that, who, because of what they did, UAW is now under federal administratorship in some way, form, or manner. And think about what that means and what the limitations are and how brilliant Shawn Fain has been to be able to do all that, even with what that limitation is. But we tried with the UAW local in Lordstown to keep the Chevy Cruze plant open. And when we could not do that, we kept on fighting for the auto workers, teachers and auto workers in Ohio. And that leadership is who is the leadership that Shawn Fain has side by side with him. The leadership that fights for workers, that fights for schools, that fights for a better life for everyone. It is my honor to bring to you Shawn Fain, the president of the UAW.
All right. Thank you, and good morning, AFT. You know, I'm honored to be here as president of the International Union UAW and representing 1 million active and retired members of the working class. But I personally want to thank you all and thank President Weingarten for the invitation and for her leadership in our fight for economic and social justice on and off the job. I got to tell you, the kind words she said about me a minute ago, I have to echo those sentiments toward Randy because, look, I've been in this job for a year and about 3 or 4 months right now. And, when I took over, I knew what the mission was, what I thought we needed to change in the UAW. But, there's only a handful of what I would call just core, excuse my language, but badass union leaders in this country that really get it. And Randy's one of them. Like, I lean on her a lot. Yeah. Yep. She brings a lot of wisdom to our conversations. Everything we do in the AFL, she's always one of the leaders in that. And, so I definitely want to thank you, Randy, for your leadership, for inspiring me. I also come here today as a product of America's public schools. And I'm damn proud of that. I come from a family, teachers, nurses, school nurse. My mother worked in the schools for years as a nurse. My sister was a teacher, and along with auto workers in my family. So I want to be clear about one thing. In this fight for America's public school workers, the UAW has your back. I've seen this personally. My sister was a school teacher for 20 plus years. She was her local union president for several years, and back in Indiana. And I've watched this Republican leadership in Indiana and in this nation using tools such as ALEC, attack public education, decimate public education, and villainize our teachers. And there's no excuse for it. So this is going to be a fight. We all know it's going to be a fight. And there's nothing more the billionaires would love to take away from working class kids across this country than a free public education. So I want to share some lessons that us auto workers have learned in our fight last year and encourage you to take these lessons wherever your journey takes you. About 15 years ago, America's auto industry was turned upside down, again, by a crisis that wasn't created by us, but by greed and a banking industry that collapsed. But the big three found themselves on the ropes, and like always, wealthy do what they do best. They blame the workers, and then they come to us, and they want us to save them. So, auto workers took major concessions to save the industry. We allowed them to divide us into tiers violating the sacred union principle of equality, equal pay for equal work. And you know, for 15 years, we lived under the weight of that sacrifice. And last fall, America's auto workers said we'd sacrificed long enough. America's auto workers said in the wealthiest nation in the world, working class people shouldn't have to scrape to get by paycheck to paycheck. And America's auto workers said, it's time to stand up. So I want to share with you some of the lessons that I took away from our stand-up strike last fall, so you can take some of those lessons forward in your fight for a better world, or in our fight for a better world. You know, in our stand-up strike, we took on 3 of the largest corporations in the country, and we won. And a lot of people ask how we did that, you know, and there's several things that play into that, but there's 3 things I like to talk about. One thing is we united the entire working class. We didn't just make this about auto workers alone. This fight was about everybody, because everybody was feeling the same pain. We spoke truth about wages in this country, about health care and how people are being left behind, about retirement insecurity, and about taking our time back. And we fought for a dignified life on and off the job. The second thing we did was we gave the billionaire and the corporate class hell. They have to own this situation we're in, where there's more wealth disparity in this nation, in this world, than ever before. So we hit them with the UAW that they haven't seen in decades. So we put our foot on the gas, we never looked back, and we showed our members and the world that it's worth the fight. And the third thing we did is we let the working class people lead. We put our membership back in charge of this union. So we gave our members the information, we gave them the tools, we put facts in front of them, and we gave them the courage to stand up for themselves. And to me, it's that simple. That's the winning formula. Unite the membership, unite the working class, fight like hell, and let everyday working class people lead our movement. And I can assure you, if you follow those principles, which I know you will, you're not going to lose. And I can assure you this, the UAW will have your back every step of the way. You know, here at the UAW, after our victory in the Big Three, we realized another principle that educators know very well. It's not just about one contract. We took our wins from the Big Three and we brought them to our other core industries, and we won major gains everywhere we went. And we also took this fight to the non-union sector. And as President Weingarten said earlier, in April, at Volkswagen, workers in Chattanooga, Tennessee made history by being the first non-union manufacturer in the country to join the UAW. And we also knew that if we wanted to win even bigger, we had to fight even bigger. That's why we set our next Big Three contract expiration for May 1st, 2028, May Day. That's right. That's right. Right. Yeah. You know, we invited unions across the country to align their contracts with ours, and not just unions in America, unions all over this world. We've been talking to unions globally now because we want to create a mass movement, a general strike if we have to win our fair share, not just for workers here, but workers all the workers, working class people all over this globe. And I understand yesterday at your convention, you guys passed a resolution to push unions to do just that. And I know there's already locals from Chicago and Baltimore to Minneapolis that have already done it. And that's how we do this. When we fight and when we win, people want to be a part of that. They want to join the movement. You know, working class people are not complacent. They're tired and they're fed up with being left behind, and they are not satisfied with the crumbs. They want to be part of something bigger than themselves. They want their lives back. And that goes way beyond the workplace. You know, as you all know, we stand at a historic crossroads in this country. It's very clear a Donald Trump White House would be a disaster for the working class. You know, he represents everything that the billionaire class and the corporate class want. I call him their lapdog. And I also say another thing about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a scab. He stands for everything that we as a union and in the labor movement stand against. And he will ruthlessly fight for a vision of America in which the wealthy rule everyone and everything, and the working class is continued to force to settle for the scraps. You know, for us in the labor movement, what's at stake in November isn't just about November. What we win or lose now will impact every single contract negotiation, every new organizing campaign. And it's going to determine whether we go forward or backward as a nation for generations to come. So you know what's at stake here is simple to me. Everything is at stake. Our wages. When I talk about wages, that means living wages, not just the bare minimum. Wages where people can actually live and live a comfortable life. Our health care, you know, just having adequate health care so people can not have to worry about if they get sick that they won't lose everything. Our retirement security. You know, 60% of Americans have zero retirement savings. And it's not because people are irresponsible. It's because people are making so little money they can't afford to save any damn thing for retirement. And the fourth thing we look at is our time, getting our time back. You know, working class people in this country are forced to work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, or 2 and 3 jobs just to live paycheck to paycheck and scrape to get by. That's not a life, and we got to take our lives back. So those are the 4 core issues that we as a union are focused on. And to me, those are the 4 core issues that unite all working class people in a fight against the billionaire class. That's why 75% of America stood with us in our Big 3 fight, because those are the issues that affect everybody, union or not. Yeah, so, and you know, those are the issues that the billionaires desperately want us not focused on. The dream of the wealthy's lapdog, Donald Trump, is that the vast majority of working class people who literally make our economy and our country run will remain divided. That we will not unite in a common cause to take on the billionaire class. You know, the billionaires' game is to divide and conquer. You know, they divide us by public and private sector, when we all know as unions that we're never going to fall for that trick. We are one union and we will stand united. They divide us by race. They divide us by gender. They divide us by who somebody loves. They divide us by where we were born and what language we speak. And I got to tell you something. The rich have manufactured a so-called crisis at the border. And every time I hear about this border crisis, it pisses me off. You know, we don't have a border crisis. What we have is a humanitarian crisis. And they create this crisis for a reason. Because they've left working class people behind for decades, and they want the working class to have something or somebody to point the blame for their misery at. And if it doesn't work when they point the finger at black people, if it doesn't work when they point the finger at gay people, then they want to point the finger at somebody across the border from another country. So in this fight, we need to take a good look. This election coming up, to me, it's about more than, it's about humanity. And you know what? We need to take a good look at the heart and soul of America and where we stand. You know, there's a party in this country that loves to hold up a Bible, and they love to wrap themselves in the American flag. And then the next thing they do is their lapdog stands in front of America, and he calls destitute and desperate people looking for a better life rapists and murderers and invaders. Well, you know, I got to tell you all something. First thing I do every day when I get up is I do a daily reading and I pray. And I don't know what religion all of you are, or if you have religion, whether you do or not. But I know this. Every religion I know of in this world teaches one thing as a foundation, and that's love of your fellow human being. That's right. That's got to be the focus as we go into this election and how we vote, is love of your fellow human being and standing up for people, not leaving them behind. When I see destitute and desperate people trying to cross the border for a better life, you want to know what I see? I see my grandparents. My grandparents went through a Great Depression. And the only difference between my grandparents and people trying to cross that border are my grandparents were in destitution and poverty, extreme poverty, in southern America. They were in Tennessee and Kentucky. And all they had to do was they had to cross state lines, and they migrated north, and they got jobs in UAW factories at GM and Chrysler, and they lived the American dream. That's what this fight's about, and that's what these people are trying to do, is find a better life. And this is what the billionaire class does. They divide us to keep us weak. And too many members of the working class are falling for that. That's the truth. But I know another truth. And the truth is, we can win. You know, as working class people, we are up against the most powerful forces in the world, and our mission is to take that power back. The deck is stacked against us. It's stacked against auto workers and educators and working class people everywhere. But we have one thing that the billionaires and the corporate class will never have. We have solidarity. Yeah. And you know, there's I don't want to get all preachy on it, but I do want to say this. There's a scripture that it's the foundation. It's my favorite scripture in life, and it to me is what the labor movement's about. It's what solidarity is about, and that's Ecclesiastes 4:9-12, where it says, "Two are better than one, for they have a greater return for their labor. If one of them falls down, the other can pick them up. But pity the person who falls and has no one there to help them up. Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not easily broken." That's what solidarity is. So we have the power to come together in a common cause to defeat the forces of corporate greed in the name of economic and social justice. We have solidarity, and there's one movement that lives and breathes solidarity, and that's the labor movement. At our best, we're the ones who unite across race, gender, and nationality. At our best, we're the ones who organize in a common cause against the devastation caused by corporate greed. And at our best, we're the ones who stand up against violence from the workplace to the community. So the labor movement not only has the answer, we also have the duty, or what I call the obligation, to lead that fight. And as you go into that fight for a better life, for a better job, and for a better country, remember that obligation. Remember that you are the best America has to offer, and that you are the hope of the working class. I say this all the time. This is our generation's defining moment. What we do in this moment will define the future of this country and this world for generations to come. So wherever that fight takes us, wherever this future takes us, the UAW is ready to stand up with you in this fight. So let's get to it. Thank you.
Okay. Good way to start today. And so great that we passed that resolution yesterday. So what I want to do is, over the course of today, this morning and this afternoon, we're, very much focused on resolutions with some introductions in terms of what our different divisions do. And I want to talk for a second about our healthcare division and our healthcare workers. As you've heard over and over again, we are now the second largest nurse union in the United States of America. And I think the reason that has happened is that, and you've heard from speakers already, but during COVID-19, how many billboards did you read about, calling healthcare workers heroes? But my kids at Clara Barton High School, the school that I taught at in New York City, used to say to me, my whole last name was one syllable, Ms. Weingarten. You walk the walk, don't just talk the talk. And so many healthcare corporations betrayed those workers in so many different ways. They failed to protect workers. These workers had to be at work. They didn't have the choice. They would leave work, leave their clothes in their garages, take showers. No one knew, particularly at the start of COVID, what it meant, what happened, what it would mean if someone got COVID. Remember what we didn't know at the time. And yet, nurses and technicians and doctors and other health professionals were in hospitals, were holding the hands of people who were dying, were doing Zooms or just Facebook Live or Facebook with their families. That is who our members are. That's who, frankly, the entire health profession is. And so what we said to this moral injury of these healthcare behemoths who didn't give a you-know-what about workers. Yes, we bought the PPE. That was important. Yes, we got on TV. Yes, we fought. Yes, we struck. But we also acted long-term to launch a campaign to change this once and for all. And that's the Code Red campaign. And we started it alongside, and you heard from ONA and OFNHP earlier in this convention, we started it with them on a very snowy week in Oregon to announce their staffing bill. We're fighting to combat burnout and violence against healthcare workers. Yes, there's violence against a lot of our workers, but couldn't you imagine being a technician or a nurse and you get beat up in a hospital for just doing what you have to do because there is so much stress and trauma that's there? We're fighting to combat burnout. We're fighting to combat violence. We're fighting to improve patient care. And we're winning, as I said a couple of days ago. This Code Red campaign is about real solutions for our healthcare workforce, for our patients, for our communities. And so we've asked some of our leaders who have worked on the campaign, I see them at some microphones, I wanted to give you a chance to hear from them in terms of the things that they have done. And so I want to call on microphone 3. We're joined by members in Connecticut. We joined them last year to support their staffing bill, and in typical AFT Connecticut fashion, they testified well into the night about what it needed to do, and they wouldn't take no for an answer. And so I want them to speak first, but this is what Eddie Glaude meant by imagine. This is what Shawn Fain meant by we need to have a workers' movement. This is what I meant by saying progress is possible. We need to be able to imagine that future and act on it, not just fight the bad guys, which we have to do, but act on the future we need and we want for this country. Microphone 3.
Good morning, AFT. My name is Jan Hockedell. I'm the president of AFT Connecticut and an AFT vice president. I want to start out by saying thank you to Randy because she was there in January when it was really cold to start our campaign, along with Kelly Nedrow, and they were there every step along the way for us. John Brady, my executive vice president, had the hard job, and that was speaking with members every day. I had the easy job. I just had to herd cats, otherwise known as legislators. Because someone once told me, if you want somebody on the plane when they land, you have to get them when they take off. And that's what we did for all of our legislators on both sides of the aisle. We had one senator, Heather Summers, who is the co-chair of Public Health, and she was there completely along the way, even though we have different opinions on most everything else. Because we brought her along, she was there and helped us get it across the finish line. The other co-chair of the Public Health Committee is Dr. Suad Anwar. He is a doctor at Manchester Hospital, and he also put something in a bill that now allows us to organize doctors. So I'm going to need AFT's help again. I'm going to turn it over to John Brady.
Thank you, Jan. This was truly a member engagement victory, not just for healthcare workers, although they led the charge. And Randy spoke about the hearing. The hearing in public health started at 10 in the morning, and people had 3 minutes to testify. And we ran that hearing until 2 o'clock the next morning. That was our members showing up and speaking their voice. And it wasn't just our healthcare members. Our educators, our public employees, and our retirees showed up, because guess what? They either know a nurse or a nursing assistant, or they've been a patient in a hospital. We were fighting for statewide staffing ratios, much like our siblings in Oregon got. And we fell short. But what we got might have been better. We have staffing committees now in each hospital where one of the co-chairs is a union member. And that committee has to pass ratios. They are enforceable by law. And the best part, we have the majority vote by law on that committee. So if we enforce this law correctly, we can write the ratios. We followed that up this year by passing a beginning of real workplace violence prevention for both hospitals and home care. Now, Randy, I have to thank you and Kelly for coming to the press conference and kicking it off. And I know you have been declared the most dangerous person in the world. I would like to just finish by making 2 declarations, and I won't make it a special order. Jan Hockendahl, Senator Jan Hockendahl, is the most dangerous woman in Connecticut. And the healthcare workers, particularly the co-chairs of the staffing committees, some of them who are standing behind me now, are the most dangerous people in the hospitals of Connecticut. Thank you so much for your support to get this done.
So, as I call up the Health, Access, and Quality Issues Committee, let's see a little video about Code Red.
Healthcare is entering a new era, one of mega mergers.
Corporate consolidation.
A nonprofit Summa Health being acquired by Hadco.
This new merger would create the nation's largest monopoly.
OHSU essentially absorbing Legacy.
Private equity firms are increasingly getting involved.
They've done what we call vertical integration.
Consistent earnings growth, consistent dividend growth.
The urge to merge.
And if you need a hospital, you have one option.
OHSU planning to lay off more than 500 staff.
What do we need? When do we need it?
Now! We are part of a national movement to address the staffing crisis by proposing state-by-state legislation for safe staffing.
This campaign is my #1 priority.
On a recent shift, myself and one other PCT were left on the floor with 29 patients. We're used as punching bags.
Best case scenario, what happens is that you wait a really long time for your pain medicine. Worst case scenario is you may be dead in the hallway and nobody's noticed for a while.
This is why we need state and federal legislation right now. How do we keep putting profits over people?
Here's why we have unions, folks.
I want to be part of the solution.
I think it's important for representatives to know that hospitals alone on their own are not hiring enough nurses.
The standards are unsafe, and we're not able to provide the care that we're trained for.
I used to love being a nurse, and now I feel like I can barely make myself go to work.
What's different now?
Staffing.
Nurses shouldn't have to try to leave their state to be compensated or to get a break.
Last year, we had 3 campaigns that got to the finish line in terms of ensuring state staffing.
A new law going into effect next month will make Oregon the first state to mandate minimum nurse-to-patient staffing ratios in all hospitals.
Oregon is the first one that actually has been able to put penalties in a monetary value against our hospitals for breaking the law. I think it was vitally important to have the other unions on board. OFNHP is a very powerful voice in Oregon. When we showed up for open testimony, we had over 400 healthcare providers show up from 3 different unions.
We're going everywhere we can with as loud a voice as we can to say no more profits over people.
But we know that this is just the beginning of the fight. We have to continue to fight to make sure that this law is followed, because if we don't, no one will, and nurses and healthcare providers can be silent no more.
I don't know, our healthcare folk, do you see us as a healthcare union now? Okay, our next committee is healthcare access and quality, right? John, come on up. John, you're getting your steps in today.
Thank you, Randy. Hi, everybody. Long time no see. The Committee on Quality Health Care and Access, the resolutions are on page 4 of the Orange Book. The committee recommends concurrence on resolution number 10, recommitting ourselves to the Code Red campaign, saving health care from corporatization for our patients, our communities, and ourselves, and I so move.
Oh my God, you are... This is what I love about our convention. You're doing it all. Okay. Microphone, what mic are we on? We start with one again? Okay.